So Google says that it's pronounced moi. It's one of those photography words that I never actually say out loud, so I don't actually know how to say it. Somebody once said moirie, and I don't think that's right. I think this little phenomenon where the lines are kind of like jumping all over, and this is the reason you shouldn't wear this kind of shirt on camera, it's called moi. What's shakin' bacon? I'm Joni Simon. Welcome to my studio. This is where I do food photography. So if you're into that, you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And today we're doing a head-to-head challenge of lenses. We're talking about the 50mm lens because one of the most popular questions that I get across all social media is if I'm gonna buy a lens, which one should I buy? And I always say when you're starting out, start with the kit lens, of course, whatever comes with your camera. But if you're at the point where you're ready to upgrade and you really wanna get that narrow depth of field, that really nice sort of fuzzy background from those more wide open aperture, then invest in the Nifty 50 lens, which is the 50mm f1.8. It not only will give you that beautiful bokeh effect that we like to talk about in the background, that little soft focus action going on, but it's also a super affordable lens. When we're talking about the world of lenses, it's only about $125 to $150 depending on what you're doing, but not super expensive when you consider how much we spend on other lenses. So I have rocked a Nifty 50 for a good number of years, and it was only about 3 months ago that I finally said, you know what, I'm ready to upgrade my 50mm and take it to maybe the next level. Just again, based on seeing what other photographers were doing, seeing what other people are doing, and sort of that like FOMO of like, maybe I'm missing out because I'm using the Nifty 50. Maybe I need one of these fancy L series lenses or Sigma Art lenses. So guess who went out and bought the Sigma Art f1.4 lens? That's me. And I bought that lens, I started using it, and I've been using it quite frequently. Like I would say 75% of my feed over on Instagram has been that lens recently. And part of it is like, it's the shiny new thing and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. The background is so much creamier. It's so fabulous. It's so sharp. But I got to wondering, is it really that much better? Like, is it worth the comparison of the Nifty 50, which is $125 on Amazon, compared to then this Sigma Art Lens f1.4 at $700? I mean, that's like a significant difference of price. And so I wanted to know, if I put these up right next to each other, took the same exact image, how would they stack up and how are they really different? And so I figured I'd run a little experiment and share it with you. Now, this is a terribly unscientific approach because you guys know me, I'm not a scientific person. But what I went ahead and did is decided to shoot the same exact scene. I shot it on a tripod, set everything up, had it locked down and ready to go. And then I shot both images at f1.8. So now granted, the Sigma Art Lens can go down to the f1.4, so an even more narrow depth of field, but I figured just for like a side-by-side comparison, I'd put them both at f1.8. So in order to show off the difference between these two lenses, I put together this little scene involving some lemon poppy seed muffins, which in the world of muffins, I'm gonna say that lemon poppy seed I'm pretty partial to. And I used some of this nice big chunky sugar from Bob's Red Mill, good old Bob's Red Mill. I mean, this stuff, talk about texture. It's just like the Malden sea salt of sugar. It makes me so happy. Ryan's like, isn't there enough sugar on there? I'm like, no, not in plenty at all. I need to spread some on the table and get all sorts of crazy. And then I also got some eucalyptus because just in terms of concocting the color story of the scene, I wanted to keep those sort of analogous colors of the greens and yellows, but then I've got the blues in the backdrop to just sort of like really give it some depth. And so it's kind of hanging out on that side of the color wheel. But I specifically picked this angle because I thought it would show off the real difference in terms of that depth of field between the two lenses, that we'd have enough, you know, going on in the background to really show off and to be able to compare the bokeh effect. And now as far as settings, everything was exactly the same. I shot both of these with a big 47-inch round softbox with a speed light mounted inside of it at 1/32 power, and I kept that the same between both of the shots. And then I'm at ISO 100. I'm of course at 50mm on both of them, f1.8 on both of them, and then 1/160th of a second. And then as far as editing, I applied the same exact edits. Like I literally copy and pasted the edits from one to the next. So everything is exactly the same. There is no alteration. You're literally seeing the difference between the two lenses. So here's the thing. We clearly know there is a difference simply because we've been told there is a difference. But if I had not told you these were shot with different lenses, or if you were somebody without a trained eye to really overanalyze the background of this image, would you really notice the difference? I mean, would you? Now, of course, we can sit here and do some comparisons, which is definitely valid because I don't want to say that the Sigma Art lens is not worth it. It certainly is a beautiful lens. And here you can see, for example, in the backdrop, right? We've got this little area where we've got this muffin that's been opened. You can't really tell that's what it is, but that's what happened. Like I just took the wrapper off, and so it's just the muffin inside a wrapper. And then we also have this little bowl with some of this lemon preserve in it. And so if we look between the two of them, is that the Sigma, it's a softer focus in the background, right? That bokeh is just that much creamier and that much softer. There's a little bit more hard line, hard edge, and like kind of jaggediness, especially here in this area where there's pattern on the dish. We get sort of this little dappling effect that we do not get as much in the Sigma Art lens. And the same likewise if we look at the eucalyptus and just the difference between the eucalyptus. It is a little bit creamier, a little bit softer, a little bit more gradual when we're looking at that Sigma Art lens, just in terms of the bokeh. But now the other major selling point when I was researching and considering buying, and ultimately did buy the Sigma Art lens, was that they had real intense clarity and sharpness, and that in comparison even to the Canon L series lenses, which Canon L series is just the fancier version of, you know, the kind of upscale lenses from Canon, that Sigma was outperforming in terms of the sharpness and the clarity. And so, you know, I'm kind of a clarity junkie and everybody loves sharpness, right? And I, you know, read all these articles and saw all these side by sides and was like, oh yeah, those are wildly different. So let's just take a little gander here, a little comparison. Let's zoom in, especially on that sugar, those little granular pieces of sugar, and a little side by side comparison. And you can see, yes, indeed, on the Sigma, we do have a marked difference in terms of just the clarity and the sharpness, and you know, it's tack sharp that we just get that really intense sense of clarity. Though again, very important to make sure your focus is placed properly, that this lens will not fix any focus issues. You clearly need to place the focus appropriately, but where it is focused, there definitely is an added level of clarity. But then here's the question I've got to ask. Like if we zoom out and we consider that our images, you know, maybe you're creating images as a food blogger, or these are all going on your Instagram account, that these aren't necessarily going out into magazines or into, you know, large blown up posters, anything like that, where I mean, you're not really going to be able to see, for the most part, the difference in that clarity. I'm just saying, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not wildly apparent to the tune of an additional $500 more to get the fancier lens. I don't know, that's just me. I do like the bokeh, I do like the sharpness, but is it worth it? I mean, I guess it's kind of up to you. Now, am I gonna now sell my Sigma Art lens? No, because I love it and it makes me super happy and I think it's great and it's fabulous, and I fortunately have the budget to be able to afford that kind of lens. But at the same time, do not at all. I want you to look at this and realize you should not feel at all insecure if you are rocking a Nifty 50. This is a fantastic lens and it does amazing work. It's like the law of diminishing returns. Yes, the more expensive one is better, but it's not that much more exponentially better. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Maybe this sheds some light on things. I don't know if this has now either encouraged you to go buy the Sigma Art lens or made you think, I don't need to buy it. Or if you own the Sigma Art lens, you're like, crap, maybe I don't need it. Anyway, hope I didn't mess anybody up, but I just wanted to do that side-by-side comparison, and again, be a proponent of the fact that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get great images, because that, at the end of the day, is the truth of the matter. That's a great image, no matter which lens it was shot with. So hopefully you learned a thing or two. Hopefully you're encouraged and inspired, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Hope you stay out of trouble, and I'll see you soon, okay? Bye!